Right, here we're solving quadratic equations. Now we can only solve quadratic equations when it equals to 0. And why it's a quadratic is if I was to expand it out, I'd get it x squared. Okay, but having it factorised is exactly how we want it to have. Now here we could think of these two things multiplied together to get 0. Now if either of those things is equal to 0, then the whole thing will be 0. For example, if we had 0 times 5, that equals to 0. Or we could have negative 1 times 0, is equal to 0 as well. So if either the x plus 5 or the x minus 2 was equal to 0, the whole thing would be equal to 0. So in that case, we get two answers. So x plus 5 could equal 0. So that means x could be negative 5. Or x minus 2 could be equal to 0 for that to be true. So therefore x equals 2. And there we get our two answers. Okay, now it's as simple as that. Here, again, it's quadratic because if we expanded it out, we would get 3x squared. Still think of it as two things multiplied together. We're multiplying 3x with x minus 1. And if either of those is equal to 0, the whole thing is equal to 0. So let's 3x equals 0, and we divide by 3, then x is just equal to 0. So if x was 0, that would be fine. And also we could take the other bracket, or the bracket, x minus 1 equal to 0, so therefore x could equal 1 as well. So when x is either 0 or 1, that equation is true. Right, for the x plus 4 squared, what we can do is say, right, okay, get rid of the squared by taking the square root. And the square root of 0 is just 0. Okay, and then we can solve this equation by moving the 4 over and making it minus 4. So in this instance, I only get one solution, and my solution is x minus 4. This last one is a little bit different, just because it's got numbers in front of the x. But again, let each of the brackets equal to 0, and then this equation would be true. So let's take the 2x plus 1 equal to 0. Take the 1 over first, so it becomes minus 1, and then divide by 2. And so there's one of my solutions. The other solution, so instead of minus 2, it's going to be plus 2, taking it over the other side, and then just divide by 3. So here are my two solutions. So when x is negative a half or x is 2/3, this equation would be true. And that's how you solve quadratic equations.